Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll be discussing about environment and ecology current affairs. So I hope you have understanding of environment and ecology as a subject, right? I hope you must have read environment and ecology, because that is a prerequisite to understand current affairs, right? Because current affairs, it would be difficult to understand if you have not studied environment and ecology as a subject, right? So how many of you have studied environment and ecology? No? Little bit. Okay, when you will be attempting for this year, right? 23. Okay. So how about others? Have you studied environment and ecology? Yes or no? Yes, fine. So see, initially I'll be telling you about the importance of current affairs, and then once that is done, we'll be discussing about the current affairs from environment and ecology. Fine. So firstly, importance of current affairs. So as you are aware of, we can divide UPSC's syllabus or topics that are mentioned in the syllabus in two broad categories, right? So first is traditional part, which is also called as static portion, and then we have current affairs or current developments. But in today's context, current developments should ideally be considered as contemporary. Because if you go through previous year questions, you'll find that current affairs are not only topics that have, or not only developments that have happened in the recent past. Some questions are there which were asked from the developments happened in the in let's say 2 to 2.5 years earlier. So those developments have also been asked, and that's why it is better to call them contemporary developments. Fine. So here, more often than not, what do we study is conceptual understanding. What do we get is conceptual understanding. Right. So from traditional or static topics, we develop conceptual understanding of various topics. For example, if we take into account environment and ecology, here concepts like what do we mean by, let's say biogeochemical cycles. Fine, biogeochemical cycles. How nitrogen is cycled from abiotic components to biotic components and then back to abiotic components. So that kind of conceptual understanding we develop here. Also, let's say causes of climate change. Why climate change is occurring. So that kind of conceptual understanding we get from the traditional syllabus of that particular subject. Fine. On the other hand, current developments or contemporary developments are the recent happenings. Right? What has happened in the recent past related to that particular subject. That is what is the focus of current developments or contemporary developments. Fine. So here in current or contemporary developments, more often than not, if you go through PYQs, you'll find that questions are information based. Questions are information based. right? Right? Can you give me any example of last few years where information-based question was asked by UPSC in the prelims examination? Current developments, related to current developments. Sorry? Fine. So in 22's prelims examination, there was a statement in one of the questions, tree city of the world, and that was Hyderabad. So it is information. There is hardly any concept there, right? If you know it, you know it. Otherwise, you won't be able to mark it on the basis of understanding of the subject, right? So it is more information based. Fine. So for current affairs, this is more important, information. You can even call it as factual questions, right? Current affairs questions, let's say if one-liner question is asked, it will be a factual question. Let me give you an example. Biorock technology, sometimes in the news is related to which of the following, right? So that was the question of prelims 22, right? So this is a technology for restoration of coral reefs. It is a technology for the restoration of coral reefs, right? And that is being used in Gulf of Kutch. It is being used in Gulf of Kutch for the restoration of coral reefs there. Fine, so that was one example. Another example is Miyawaki technique. Sometimes seen in the news is related to which of the following, right? So it is for afforestation. It is for afforestation. Fine, so such are the questions from current affairs. They are more often than not one-liner questions, right? And sometimes statement-based questions are also asked. For example, the question that you have referred to. In that question, one of the statement was tree city of India is Hyderabad. Fine. So in current affairs, that's why in order to understand this information, you should be clear with this. You should be clear with the conceptual understanding of subject, be it environment and ecology, any other subject. You should be having conceptual clarity, then you will be able to make sense out of the information that you get in current affairs. Fine. So that is first point, right? Any doubt in this? So here, more often than not, questions will be information-based questions. You can call them factual questions as well, right? So that is first. But that is not the only importance of current affairs. It is not that you will be getting only factual questions. No, right? Current affair developments or current developments will help you solve these information-based questions. And at the same time, these current affairs will help you understand topics which will be important, or which topics will be important from the exam's perspective from your traditional or static portion. That is also an important aspect of current affairs. You not only get information based questions, they also help you understand which traditional topics you should focus more on, right? So current affairs help you in these two aspects. They will give you direct questions, and also they will help you understand which topics you should focus more from static portion. Fine. For example, let's say there are developments related to, in current developments, there are developments related to CBD. What is CBD? What is CBD? Convention on Biological Diversity, right? So it came into being in 1992, right? So recently there was a summit held of CBD where Montreal, right? And it led to Kunming. It led to Kunming, Montreal, Global Biodiversity Framework. It led to Kunming, Montreal, Global Biodiversity Framework. Fine. Global Biodiversity Framework, GBF, was framed in the recent Kunming Summit, or recent Montreal Summit held in December 2022. Fine. Now let's say there may be a question on GBF. They may ask you how many goals are there, what are the targets highlighted under Global Biodiversity Framework. That may be a question. If not, they may also ask you a predecessor of Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which is HE Action Plan. HE Action Plan. Right? There may be a question on HE Action Plan. They may ask you what is the time period in which HE Action Plan was supposed to be implemented. Right? So it was between 2010 to 2020. Right? So that is also an important aspect of current affairs. They help you understand which topics are important from your static portion. So HE Action Plan is not a current development. It is not a current development. It was the result of COP10 held at Nagoya. Right? It was the result of that particular COP held at Nagoya. Fine. So it is not a recent development, but that recent development may be asked from the development that has happened in the recent past. So the recent developments may be an inspiration for the questions from this, and that is how you should study. That is how you should study current affairs. Right? Current affairs are not only important for the information-based questions which will be appearing directly from the current developments. They will help you. They'll help you which topics you should focus more on from the static part. Fine. So is it clear? Right? And if we talk about the weightage of current affairs, see, it keeps on varying. There is no exact number that you can say that okay, these many questions will be asked from current affairs. Fine. So if we take into account the number of current affairs questions, weightage, so approximately 20 to 30 questions, 20 to 30 questions can be asked from current affairs, right? So this is the average number. So you can say that 50 to 60 marks questions will be from current affairs. And see, again, this is not constant. It may come down to 15. It may increase to more than 50, the way it has happened during 2016. In 2016, number of current affairs questions were way higher, right? Number is debatable. Someone will say that it is 50, someone will say that 70 questions were there, right? So that number is debatable. But many questions were asked in 2016's prelims examination, right? And that is UPSC's prerogative. They can ask any number of questions from current affairs or static portion. There may be a question paper where you may have only current affairs question. There may be a question paper where you might not have any question on current affairs. Fine. So that is wholly a prerogative of UPSC. Fine. So weightage keeps on varying, but if we talk from if we take into account average of current affairs question, so 50 to 60 marks, it is huge, right? And that's why current affairs help you in clearing this particular exam. Current affairs will help clear prelims examination for you. Fine. So make sure that you study current affairs in a better manner. Along with that, current affairs will help you understand the static topics which are important from the exam's perspective. Fine. So that is the importance of current affairs. It will help you a lot in the prelims examination. Right? Any doubt in the importance of current affairs? There will be doubt regarding the sources, because there are n number of sources that you can refer for current affairs. But it is, see, more often than not, it is more about revision. It is not only about reading. You may read any source, any current affairs source, but it is more important to revise it. Because if before exam you are not able to revise that current affairs material, then it is hardly of any use, because you might not remember the nitty-gritties of that particular topic that you have read but not revised. So make sure that you read that current affairs source which you will be able to revise before exam. Fine. So that's why your current affairs source should be very crisp source of current affairs. Right? How many of you read newspaper? And how many of you make notes out of those newspapers? Then what is the use of reading those newspapers that you are reading? Be it the Hindu, Indian Express. Fine. Do you remember what news article was there in the Hindu day before yesterday? What was the headline? First page headline. It's very difficult to remember. Right? And that's why it is important to make notes. If you are reading the Hindu, you should make notes from that paper as well. Be it the Hindu or Indian Express, whichever be the newspaper that you are following. Make sure that you read and make notes out of it. Right? And if you are relying on current affairs magazine, you can do that also, no problem with that. But make sure that your current affairs magazine is crisp. It should be, means you should be able to revise it. Otherwise, reading it for the first time or only for the one time is not helpful. Fine? Fine. So, shall we start with our discussion of current affairs for environment and ecology? Any doubt related to the introductory topic, that is importance of current affairs? Any doubt? So, I expect that you have read environment and ecology, because I won't be able to explain the terms, right? So that is the expectation that I'll have from you, that you are aware what is ecosystem. If I use the term grassland, you are aware of grasslands, right? If I use term IUCN's red list, IUCN status, you should be aware of it, right? Because if you go through the topic, if you go through the PDF of Sampurna magazine, there are number of species that we are going to discuss today. Right, so there it will be of help, right? So I'll expect this, that you have read environment and ecology as a subject. Fine. And how we'll be discussing current affairs? So how we'll be discussing? So we'll be discussing current affairs based on Sampurna magazine, and I hope you have the copy of Sampurna magazine. Do you have it? मिली नहीं वो website पे है. Right. So this is there on GSSCORE website. You can have it your own. You can have it your own. See, make sure that you download this copy. I'll give you some time. Please download it, because we will be discussing current affairs from the magazine only. I am not aware of that. Fine. Please download it. Please download it. So meanwhile, I'll help you understand. Meanwhile, I'll help you understand the topics that we are going to study. Please download it. It is there on GSSCORE website, resources page. Fine. Please download it. So what we are going to discuss under current affairs? Again, we'll be discussing similar topics. For example, biodiversity. Biodiversity will be the focus of our current affairs, because if you go through previous year questions of UPSC, you will find that more questions are there on biodiversity. Under biodiversity, we will focus on species. Species in news. Species in news. Right? So many species, they come in news maybe because of the threats that they have, or recent inventions of species from biodiversity hotspots in India, especially in Western Ghats, in the northeastern region and all. Right? So species in news we'll be discussing. Then we'll discuss about protected areas. Protected areas. Right? How many protected areas are there which are backed by Wildlife Protection Act 1972? Can you name those protected areas? National parks. Sorry? Wildlife sanctuaries, conservation reserves, and community reserves. Community reserves, fine. Anything else that we can put under Wildlife Protection Act protected areas? Even tiger reserves. Even tiger reserves. Why? Because if you go through Wildlife Protection Act, it mentions about Project Tiger, right? NTCA, National Tiger Conservation Authority, is created under which act? It is Wildlife Protection Act 1972 itself, right? So NTCA, its prime responsibility is to implement Project Tiger, right? And one of the strategy for implementation of Project Tiger is creation of tiger reserves, and that's why tiger reserves are also they also have statutory backing under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Fine. So these things we'll be discussing. Then conventions, because you must be aware of many conventions, because after COVID-19 or during COVID-19 there were no COPs held, right? Or the COPs that were held were of online COPs, and that's why after COVID-19 in year 2022 many COPs, what are COPs? Conference of parties were held, right? For example, COP 19 of sites, right? COP 19 of sites. This convention is extremely important from the exams perspective. Why? First is because of COP 19 held at Panama City, right? At Panama sites COP 19 was held. So that makes it important, and you must be aware of proposed Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021. Right? It has been passed by both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Only assent of President is there. So that if that assent is given, it will become an act. Right? So Wildlife Protection Act, Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021 was enacted, was drafted to ensure that WPA 1972 becomes in sync with sites. Right? There is rationalization of schedules under Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021. Fourth schedule after rationalization is termed as scheduled specimens. Right? Scheduled specimens, and scheduled specimens will be the specimens which are there in the appendices of sites. Fine. So that's why this convention is important from the exams perspective. Right? So that is one. Then even in 22 there was a COP for CBD, as we have already discussed. It led to Kunming Montreal GBF, which we have already referred to. Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Right? So that is the development. Then this year in 2023 there will be a COP of CMS. What is CMS? Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species. So there is upcoming COP 14 of CMS will be held maybe by the time you write mains. Right? In October 2023 there will be COP. So this is also important because its last COP was held in India, Gandhinagar. Right? And that led to classification of, or that led to great Indian bustards were put under Appendix 1 of CMS. Not only great Indian bustards but also Asian elephants and Bengal florican. Right? So all those animal species were put under CMS Appendix 1 at COP 13 held at Gandhinagar. Fine. So these conventions are important. Fine. Also, from the perspective of biodiversity, meanwhile, please download that magazine. Right. So from the perspective of biodiversity, Indian efforts are also important. Indian efforts. Which Indian efforts? Which Indian efforts are important? Yes. For biodiversity conservation, India is also making some efforts. So which efforts are important for upcoming exam? Which efforts that India has taken in 2022 which are important for your exam? Fine, Project Cheetah. Project Cheetah. Right? Project Cheetah, wherein we are reintroducing cheetahs in Kunopalpur. Right? They may ask you a question, benefits of Project Cheetah. Which of the following are the benefits of Project Cheetah? Can soil erosion reduction be a benefit of Project Cheetah? Yes or no? Yes, it is. Right? Yes, it is. Can we say that water conservation, help in water conservation will be a benefit of Project Cheetah? Yes, it will be. Right? Because cheetahs will help us in the conservation of grasslands. And grassland is nothing but a vegetation. So whatever benefits that we receive from trees or plants, those benefits we will also receive from grasslands. See, jury is still out whether they will help, whether cheetahs will help in the conservation of grasslands or not. That is the question that will remain. But if you go through PIB of Project Cheetah, PIB article of Project Cheetah, in that article they have mentioned these benefits. Fine. So yes, these benefits are there of Project Cheetah. Fine. So Project Cheetah is one. Any other? Fine. Fine. Not very current, but you must be aware of action plan. Action plan on the conservation of vultures. Year 2020 to 2025. Right, so this is the action plan for the conservation of vultures that is given by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Right, under that, there may be a question, Vulture Rescue Center will be established at where? Pinjore in Haryana. Right, it will be established at Pinjore in Haryana. Fine, so this is also an important initiative. Any other? Reintroduction of rhinos in Manas. Fine. So there was one vision called as Indian Rhino Vision. Indian Rhino Vision. So this is the first topic that we'll be discussing. Indian Rhino Vision 2020. Indian Rhino Vision 2020. So this was started in 2005, 2006. It was started in 2006, right? So its aim was translocation of rhinos from two important protected areas in Assam. Can you name those two important protected areas? Kaziranga and Pobitora. Right? From those protected areas, rhinos should be translocated in 5 protected areas in Assam. They are Manas, Orang, then Dibru Saikhowa, Burcha Pori, and one more. Manas, Orang, and one more is there. Right? So in those 5 protected areas, these rhinos should be translocated. That is Indian Rhino Vision. Right? So in Manas, this vision has led to success. Why? Because the number of rhinos in Manas has increased to 40. Fine. So that is an important development that has happened in the recent past. Any other? Sorry? Fine. Project Dolphin. Project Dolphin. Project Dolphin. For the conservation of which dolphins? Not only Gangetic. right? Marine as well as freshwater dolphins will be conserved under Project Dolphin. It is not only for gangetic dolphins, right? It is not only for gangetic dolphins. Any other development? Fine. Recently, dugong conservation. So this is the initiative wherein we are trying to ensure that the habitat in Gulf of Mannar is restored for the conservation of dugong. They are sea cow. They feed on seaweed, right? They play an important role. They are an important component of the food chain for marine ecosystem, right? Dugong conservation. It is also an important project. Anything else? Fine. Great Indian bustard. See, they are in news, but the project related to Great Indian bustard, fine, means it can be an inspiration from the Great Indian bustard's threat that they are facing in Rajasthan. There was one project initiated by Rajasthan called as Project Godawan. Project Godawan. When? 2013. In 2013, they started this particular project, Project Godawan, right? And recently, Great Indian bustards are in news. Why? Why they are in news? Because we have promoted solar energy in Rajasthan, and from Rajasthan we want to evacuate that solar energy and we want to take it to different parts. But what is happening? If you want to ensure that there is a transmission of solar energy from Rajasthan to other parts, you will need electric transmission lines. And these Great Indian bustards are accidentally getting entangled with those electric transmission lines, leading to their death, right? And that's why Supreme Court has said that low voltage electric transmission lines should move underground. Fine, but that will not serve the purpose. That will not serve the purpose, because more electric transmission lines are high transmission lines, high voltage transmission lines, and they will remain in the above the ground only. Fine. Anything else? Olive ridley turtles. What news is there regarding them? See, they are in news perennially. Right, they will be there in news, right? They will be important for every year, and that's why you should be aware of a term. I think they have used it already in their exam. Aribada, right? Aribada is the activity of nesting and breeding carried out by olive ridley turtles. Where? Fine, Gahirmata coast, Odisha. Fine. But apart from these species, you are telling me about the species specific initiative. Any other initiative that we have taken for the conservation of biodiversity? Again, fine. Project Snow Leopard. Apart from species, but Project Snow Leopard is not very recent. It was initiated in 2009. Any other, apart from species-centric project, what are the steps that government has taken for the conservation of biodiversity? Fine, Mishti, right? You can talk about Mishti. Mishti initiative for the conservation of mangroves, right? Anything else? Bird census. Fine, we can talk about bird census as an initiative to conserve biodiversity, but it is not the initiative of government. Fine, we can talk about it, but not as a government initiative. Asian water bird census. Right. So there are government initiatives, like there is proposed amendment to Biodiversity Act 2002. There are new rules for FCA rules 2022, right, which we have discussed, right? FCA rules 20, what is FCA? Forest Conservation Act. Rules have been given, new rules have been given in 2022, and these rules have taken away power of Gram Sabha, to decide on the projects coming in their jurisdiction, right? Gram Sabha is the authority as per FCA who will determine the project, whether that project should come in that particular area or not. But rules of 2022 are taking away that power of Gram Sabha. Fine, and that's why there is a tussle between. Not center and state. Yes, you are reading newspaper. Which newspaper? So you must have came across tussle between some agencies. 2-3 days back there was one article, tussle between NCST, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, and MOEF and CC. Fine, so there is some tussle going on between them. So that is one of the initiative. Fine, then again Wildlife Protection Act is getting amended. Fine, so these initiatives are there. Global initiatives are also there, like these COPs, and also recently there was one agreement signed for the conservation of biodiversity in high seas, right? Recently it was signed, you must be aware. Fine, so these are the important developments that we will be covering under the topic of biodiversity, right? Apart from biodiversity, even there are developments related to climate change. Sorry? See, we are not talking about the species which are important. We are talking about species which are in news. So, climate change. So, any recent developments related to climate change? Sorry? Fine. So, Indian initiatives for mitigation of climate change. For example, LTLEDS. What is that? Long-term low emission development strategy. What is that? It is a roadmap to achieve net zero by 2070. It is a roadmap to achieve net zero, because we have committed in our Panchamrit that by 2070 we will be achieving net zero emissions, right, by 2070. So how we will achieve that? That is given under long-term low emission development strategy, right, wherein they have said that, for example, by 2032 our use of nuclear energy will triple, right? It will become 3 times, right? We will be giving a push to hydrogen as a fuel under which mission? National Green Hydrogen Mission. National Green Hydrogen Mission. Fine. And also there is ethanol blending program. How much ethanol target we have set? Fine, 20% by 2025. Right, so these are the points under LTLEDS, long-term low emission development strategy. Any other Indian initiative for handling climate change? Fine, life, which is a kind of behavioral change initiative, wherein we want to make changes in the demand side, right? The changes that we want to make when we shift towards, let's say, renewable energy, that is a change on supply side. Here under life initiative we want to make changes in demand side, right? People should have such a lifestyle which is less taxing on the environment. Why? Because as per Living Planet Index or Living Planet report, as per Living Planet report, ecological footprint of human beings is increasing. Ecological footprint of human beings is increasing, and that is having its impact on living organisms, right? And as ecological footprint is increasing, we need 1.56 times the earth resources. Whatever earth can regenerate, we are already using it, but more than that, we need resources by 1.56 times the resource generative capacity of earth. That is called as biocapacity, right? The capacity of earth to regenerate resources is called as biocapacity, and our demand is called as ecological footprint. Fine? Anything else? It is not a new mission, National Solar Mission. It is a part of NAPCC, National Action Plan on Climate Change, introduced way back in 2008. It is not a new initiative. Fine? And this life mission is also important in the context of Earth Overshoot Day. What is Earth Overshoot Day? Earth Overshoot Day 2022. What does it say? Or when was Earth Overshoot Day in 2022? It was on 29th of July. 28th tha kya? Okay, fine. 28th of July, right? On 28th of July, Earth Overshoot Day was there. What is Earth Overshoot Day? Fine, the resources generated by Earth in 1 year, we are consuming those resources by 28th of July itself, right? So in that context, life is important. Fine. Any other Indian initiative? You can even tell me about international. LDF, what is that? Fine. In COP 27, one important development happened, and that was announcement of loss and damage fund. Loss and damage fund was announced in that particular COP, right? So this is an important development. Anything else? CDRI. It's not recent one. CDRI was the result of means it was formed in 2019 itself, right? It is not a recent initiative. वो तो 15 में कर दिया था. Convening declaration. Convening declaration. It is GBF. It is Global Biodiversity Framework that we have already referred to, right? Convening declaration was the result of convening COP held online in 2022, right? In 2022, there was one online COP under CBD. We are talking about UNFCCC now, right? So you should be able to make differentiation between CBD and UNFCCC. CBD works for conservation of biodiversity. UNFCCC works for reduction in the greenhouse gas emissions, which have its impact on life forms on the Earth's surface, right? So they are different. Fine. So these are the important initiatives, important developments. Even you can talk about IPCC's reports. IPCC's report. Last year, 6th assessment report, especially part 3 was published, wherein they focused on, again, behavioral changes. They focused on these kind of changes. They talked about shifting towards plant-based diet. They talked about walking and cycling to your work, right? So those kind of behavioral changes, along with mitigation, was also focused by IPCC in its 6th assessment report. Fine. So these and many other topics we'll be discussing. Let us start with our discussion now, because I hope you have downloaded the magazine. Not fact file, Sampurna magazine. Sampurna magazine. Download it. Shall we start? So, let us start with the discussion. First topic is, so we'll be starting, yes. Sorry? एक मिनट excuse me, एक मिनट. You can go through, let's say, magazines of March, April, at least March, April. If not May, you should go through March, April magazines. हाँ, ये Feb तक का. Right. So if you see its first page, it is there till February 23, February 23. Yes, March onwards you will have to read. Let us start with the first topic. First topic is, so we will be discussing firstly about biodiversity, and first topic is rhino reintroduction success in Assam. So as we have already referred to Indian rhino vision. Indian rhino vision. What was the focus of Indian rhino vision? Indian rhino vision. So Indian rhino vision had two goals or two aims. First was to increase the number of rhinos. To increase the number of rhinos to more than 3,000 was the first goal. Second was translocation. Translocation of rhinos from Kaziranga and Pobitora. Where are they? Kaziranga and Pobitora from in Assam. From these two protected areas, they should be shifted to Manas, Orang, Dibru Saikhowa, Burchapuri, and one more. One more is Laokowa. Right. So in these protected areas, rhinos should be shifted. Right. So that was the focus of Indian Rhino Vision 2020. Indian Rhino Vision 2020. So now, as we are in 2023, there was assessment. Is this mission successful? So they have carried out, the authorities of Manas National Park, they have carried out the assessment of rhino population in Manas, and they have found that the number of rhinos has increased to 40, more than 40 rhinos in Manas National Park, and that's why we can say that Indian Rhino Vision 2020 is a successful mission. Fine. So that was Indian Rhino Vision. Can you please tell me the authorities involved in Indian Rhino Vision? This Indian Rhino Vision was implemented by Assam Forest Department, Bodoland Territorial Council. Anything else? Ministry nahi tha. International Rhino Foundation and US Fish and Wildlife Services. Along with that, WWF was also involved. Worldwide Fund for Nature. WWF is Worldwide Fund for Nature, right? So these organizations were involved in Indian Rhino Vision. Fine. So if you go through this this topic, Manas. So Manas National Park, its location is important. Where it is? It is there in Assam, and it is shared by two districts of Bodoland Territorial Council. They are Chirang and Baksa, right? Manas is shared by two districts in Bodoland Territorial Council. It is Chirang and Baksa. In 2020, UPSC asked question about Desert National Park. In that, the statement was Desert National Park is shared by two districts of Rajasthan, Jaisalmer and Barmer. Right, so this Manas is shared by two districts of Bodoland Territorial Council, Chirang and Baksa, and Manas River flows through this Manas National Park. Manas River. Manas is not only a national park, but also it is a World Heritage Site. World Heritage Site. Who gives a tag of World Heritage Site? UNESCO. Right, and also it is an elephant reserve. Right, it is elephant reserve as well. Fine. Next now. So that is Manas. Now, along with Manas, the important information here is of great Indian one-horn rhinos as well. Right. So, can you please tell me the IUCN status of great Indian rhinos? It is vulnerable. Right. Great Indian rhinos are vulnerable. They are a part of Appendix 1, and also they are a part of Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Yes. See, इतना ज़्यादा डेप्थ में जाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, because you won't be able to know कि which protected area will be the focus of UPSC, right? But if you have information, you should at least go through it, right? It would be difficult to know which national park they will ask, right? And that's why if you have information, ready information, you should go through it.
That question that we learned the elimination, because desert national park there was one state, right, which was mentioned that there is no human evidence.
Right.
Because there is humans live within areas that we eliminate that option and we get it.
Fine, that can be done. Elimination, again, elimination is the technique that you should use, because it is the most important thing in the prelims examination. Fine, so that is about rhinos. So how many rhinos are there total across the world? 5 species of rhinos are there. First, or 5 subspecies are there. White, black, Indian, Javan and Sumatran rhino. And in India we have Indian, Javan and Sumatran rhinos. Right, so these 3 rhinos are there in India and other parts of Asia. Right, but Indian rhinos or great Indian rhinos are not only endemic to India, they are also present in Manas has its boundaries with Bhutan. Right, so in Bhutan also we have the presence of these rhinos, great Indian one-horned rhinos. Fine. Even in Bangladesh we have the presence of great Indian one-horned rhinos. Fine, so that is first. Next now, second topic.
Manas has its boundaries in Bhutan.
Yes.
But the Indian rhino, that great Indian rhino is there in Bangladesh, not in Manas specifically.
Manas, it is there, no? We have translocated from Kaziranga and Pobitora to Manas.
So I am asking, Manas is there in India and Bhutan, not in Bangladesh.
No. Next is bunny grasslands, battles invasive tree species. Second topic is bunny grasslands. Bunny grasslands. So you must be aware of bunny grasslands. Where are they? Bunny grasslands are there in Gulf of Kutch. Gulf of Kutch in Gujarat. Gulf of Kutch, Gujarat. Fine. And these bunny grasslands are the largest grasslands of Asia. And bunny grasslands are two ecosystems juxtaposed. They are 2 ecosystems close to each other. Can you please tell me those 2 ecosystems? Grasslands and wetlands. grasslands and wetlands. Fine. And these bunny grasslands, they are considered as reserved forest. Under which act? Reserved forest under which act? Indian Forest Act 1927. Indian Forest Act 1927. Under Indian Forest Act, reserved forest means this bunny grasslands have been notified as reserve forest. There are three types of forest under Indian Forest Act: reserved, second, protected, third, village. Right? Three types of forest are there under Indian Forest Act 1927: reserve forest, protected forest, and village forest. Right? And the level of protection goes on decreasing from reserve to village forest. Fine. Next. So the topic says that these bunny grasslands are threatened because of invasive tree species. Can you name that tree species? It is Prosopis juliflora. It is an invasive species introduced in India from Mexico, Central America, North America, etc. Right? Prosopis juliflora is an invasive species threatening bunny grasslands. It is not there. Please write down these things. Right? Some additional information also I'll be giving. Write down these things. Fine. That's why I am there. No? Right? Prosopis juliflora. Why it is invasive? Or what are invasive species? What are invasive species? Invasive species are the species which are not native to a particular region and they have started using up the resources meant for local or native species. Right? And as they use up the resources, local species suffer. Right? So similarly in Nilgiris, there is one invasive species, that is Senna spectabilis. That is Senna spectabilis. Senna spectabilis. Right? They use up the resources meant for the local population, local species. Fine? And as they use up the resources, why do they use up the resources? Because they do not have competition, they do not have predators in that particular new habitat, and that's why they'll be able to use up the resources. Fine? So that is bunny grasslands. So you can come to the point of vegetation. So in bunny grasslands, we have vegetation in the form of low growing forbs and graminoids. And many of these forbs and graminoids are halophiles. That means they can tolerate salt conditions. They can tolerate saline conditions. Fine? Next. And important species in bunny grassland are Indian wolf, jackal, Indian fox, desert fox, and one more, cheetahs. Cheetahs. When cheetahs were there in India, in bunny grassland was their habitat. Right? So underline that. Bunny grasslands. Fine? Fine. So that is about bunny grasslands. Next. And which community stays in the vicinity of bunny grasslands? Maldhari. It is Maldhari community. Maldhari community. Fine? Next now. Next is red panda to make a home in the forest. Next topic is red panda. Next topic is red panda. Red panda. So can you please tell me the habitat of red panda in India? Not only Sikkim, in Sikkim they are there, but also in Arunachal Pradesh. in Arunachal Pradesh. In Sikkim, they are state animal. In Sikkim, they are state animal of Sikkim. Fine. And these red pandas, they are arboreal. They are arboreal. What does that mean? Arboreal means they are tree dwellers. They are tree dwellers. Can you please tell me the habitat or the forest where arboreal adaptability is more pronounced? Equatorial rainforest. In equatorial rainforest, we have arboreal adaptability. Why? Why? Because equatorial rainforest is home for insects. It is home for insects. And in equatorial rainforest, we have waterlogged conditions. And because of those waterlogged conditions, insects population is more there. Ground is not suitable for life because not only insects are there, but along with insects there are reptiles. And that's why equatorial rainforest. In equatorial rainforest we have arboreal adaptability. Species living in equatorial rainforest are arboreal. Tree dwellers they are. Fine. Next. So red panda is also found in Kanchenjunga National Park. Its habitat is Kanchenjunga National Park. Neora Valley National Park, where it is? Neora Valley National Park. West Bengal is there in West Bengal, and also in Singalila National Park in West Bengal. In Singalila National Park in West Bengal. Its IUCN status is endangered. Its IUCN status is endangered. IUCN's status is endangered. And we have two subspecies of red panda. First is Himalayan red panda, which we have there in India, and Chinese red panda, which is there in the Yunnan plateau of China. Right? In Himalayan and Chinese. These are two subspecies of red panda. Next. Next is, so that is about red panda, right? Try to remember their IUCN status. Where do they found? Where do we find them? Along with Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, they are also there in West Bengal.
Sir, in India, we just have one species of red panda, right?
Yes, yes. So Chinese one are there in the Yunnan plateau in China. Next now. Next topic is sharp decline in vulture population. So vultures. So what are vultures? Vultures are scavengers. Vultures are scavengers. What are scavengers? Scavengers feed on dead remains of animals, cattle and all, right? They feed on dead remains. And these vultures, we have 9 subspecies of vultures. We have 9 subspecies of vultures, like oriental white-backed vulture, which is critically endangered. Then we have slender-billed vulture, which is again critically endangered. Long-billed vultures, they are also critically endangered. Then we have red-headed vultures, which are also critically endangered. So these four vulture species are critically endangered in India. Then we have Egyptian vultures, which are endangered. Then next is one more critically endangered is cinereous vultures. They are also critically endangered. Fine. And then we have Indian griffon vultures, which are least concerned, and then Himalayan griffon and bearded vultures, which are near threatened species. Least concerned matlab it is a category under IUCN's red list, right? Under IUCN's red list we have 9 categories, and under those categories, one of the category is least concerned category. See, and that's why I said that I'll expect that you know these terms, right? So there are categories like extinct, extinct in wild, critically endangered, critically endangered, endangered. Next, vulnerable. These three collectively called as threatened. Next, near threatened. Next, least concerned. Least concerned. Next, data deficient. And last, not evaluated. Right, so this is the category where we have those species which do not have threats related to their survival. Right, specific criteria is there for critically endangered, endangered and vulnerable. Other categories do not have specific criteria for the classification. For example, for critically endangered, for this particular these three categories, critically endangered, endangered and vulnerable, they take into account three important facts into account. What is their past population? What was their past population? Right? How much decline they have faced in last 10 years? Right? Then what is their present status? What is their present population status? And also what will be future population status? What is the probability of these species going extinct in wild? That is taken into account under future population. Fine. So that is IUCN's red list. So 9 species are there in India. So vultures, they play an important role and they are considered as best ambassadors for Swachh Bharat program. Swachh Bharat program, SBA, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, right? They are the best ambassadors of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Why? Because they feed on carcasses, they feed on dead remains of animals, right? And that's why they are best ambassadors for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. But you must be aware they got threatened because of the use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug called as diclofenac. Diclofenac is used for cattle treatment. It is used in cattle treatment. Fine. So this led to decline in the population of vultures. But we banned diclofenac in 2006. But that did not help much, and that's why government came up with action plan for vultures conservation. Year 2020-2025, right? Under this, they are not only focusing on those NSAIDs, those non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs which we know are harmful, but in case any future drug, any new drug becomes harmful for vultures, then there should be a system under Drugs Comptroller General of India to ban that particular drug, right? This vulture action plan says that there should be a system under Drugs Comptroller General of India to ban those drugs which become harmful to vultures. Fine. So that is one of the important clause of this particular action plan. Right. So why they got threatened? They got threatened because of the excessive use of diclofenac. Fine. And another reason why they got threatened is habitat loss. Right. Habitat fragmentation, habitat loss is also one of the important reasons. Fine. Can you please tell me alternative drug for diclofenac? Alternative, it is meloxicam. Meloxicam is an alternative drug for diclofenac. Meloxicam. Next now. Right, so in the magazine you can see the important government initiatives. First is Vulture Conservation 2020-25. Second is Jatayu Conservation Breeding Center, established at Pinjore, Haryana. Pinjore, Haryana. Then we have SAVE, that means Saving Asia's Vultures from Extinction. So it is not a government initiative, it is the initiative of various organizations which are working in the field of conservation of vultures. And last is creation of vulture sanctuary. Right, so it is Rama Devara Betta Vulture Sanctuary in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Fine. So that is about vultures. Fine. So this is important in the context of vulture action plan given by Government of India between 2020-2025. Next. Next now. Next is India State of Forest Report. And here I'll make you write some points. India State of Forest Report. So you can write few points. This is important. India State of Forest Report. Take a minute. It's there in? Achha, fine. Okay, fine. Okay. Next now. So India State of Forest Report. Please write down few points for this. India State of Forest Report. India State of Forest Report. Given by Forest Survey of India. Forest Survey of India. Next. Forest Survey of India is a body working under MOEF and CC. It was established in 1981. It works under MOEF and CC. Next point. 17th report was published in 2022. Though it was a report of 21, it was published in 2022. 17th. Next point. Important terms. So in order to understand the observations of this report, you should be aware of certain important terms. First, important terms. Under that first, forest cover. So what is the definition of forest cover? Fine, forest cover, under that you may write forest area with more than 10% canopy density, with more than 10% canopy density, and more than 1 hectares of land. More than 1 hectares of land. Right, so what is considered as forest cover? Forest cover is that area that region whose area is at least more than 1 hectares. It should be more than 1 hectares, right? And this is first criteria, more than 1 hectares. And second criteria is canopy density. Canopy density should be more than 10%, right? That means if you see it from top, at least 10% of the area should be covered by tree cover, right? Should be covered by trees, right? If you see it from top, 10%, at least 10% of area should be covered with trees. That area will be considered as forest area, right? Now this forest area is divided into number of subtypes. First, so you have given the first number for forest area. Under that, first is very dense forest. Is very dense forest. What is very dense forest? Where canopy density is more than 70%. Where canopy density is more than 70%. Is more than 70%. So that area which is a part of forest cover where canopy density is more than 70% will be considered as very dense forest. Second, forest cover with canopy density between 40% to 70%. 40% to 70%. 40% to 70% will be considered as moderately dense. Will be considered moderately dense. Fine. Next. Third one, open forest. Open forest. What is open forest? That forest cover where canopy density is between 10 to 40. That forest cover where canopy density is between 10% to 40%. That is what is open forest. Next, fourth, scrub. Fourth category is scrub, S-C-R-U-B, scrub. Under that, forest cover with less than 10% of canopy density. With less than 10% of canopy density is considered as scrub. Less than 10% canopy density is scrub. Fine, so that is first, forest cover. Second now, tree cover. Second term is tree cover. Tree cover. Under that, tree cover, under that, tree patches outside of recorded forest areas. Outside of recorded forest areas and area of less than 1 hectares and area of less than 1 hectares. Fine. So that part where canopy density is not taken into account, but that part of tree cover which is outside of the recorded forest where area of the forest is not more than 1 hectares will be considered as tree cover. Fine. So these two terms are important in order to understand what are the observations of India State of the Forest report. Fine. Next, now you can write the observations of the report. Observations. First, increase in both tree and forest cover. Increase in both tree and forest cover. Next point. Total forest area is 24.62% of the geographical area of the country. 24.62% of the geographical area. Next point. Total forest cover 21.71. Now you should be able to differentiate between forest cover and forest area, right? 21.71% of the total geographical area. Next, total tree cover 2.91%. 2.91%. Next now, mangroves increased by 17 square kilometers. Increased by 17 square kilometers. And total area under mangroves is 4,992 square kilometers. 992 square kilometers. Next point. Area-wise top 5 states. And these kind of questions are asked by UPSC. Right? They will ask you arrange the states with increasing or decreasing order of forest cover. Area-wise top 5 states. First, Madhya Pradesh. Second, Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh. Chhattisgarh next. Next, Odisha. And next, Maharashtra. Next is Maharashtra. So these are top 5 states area-wise, right? That means they have large forest area in their states, right? Next, top 5 states. With respect to percentage of forest area to total geographical area. Can you guess? First is Mizoram, right? We may think that it is Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is not first now, it is second. First is Mizoram, second Arunachal Pradesh. Next, Meghalaya. Next, Manipur. Next, Nagaland. Fine. So these are top 5 states with respect to percentage of forest cover to total geographical area of that particular state. Fine. Next, new features of India State of Forest Report 2021. New features. Under that, for the first time, India State of Forest Report included, tiger reserves, tiger corridors, along with Gir forest. Gir forest is also a part of India State of Forest Report now. Fine. Next point. Under tiger reserves, Buxa Tiger Reserve, Indravati Tiger Reserve, and Annamalai Tiger Reserve. Indravati and Annamalai. Where it is Annamalai? Tamil Nadu. Annamalai Tiger Reserve have seen increase in forest area. Have seen increase in forest cover, not area, forest cover. Next, on the other hand, Kawal, K-A-W-A-L, Kawal, where? Telangana. Bhadra Tiger Reserve, and Sundarbans have witnessed fall in tree cover. They have witnessed fall in tree cover. Fine. And which is the best tiger reserve with respect to forest cover? Best tiger reserve with respect to forest cover. It is Pakke, P-A-K-K-E. Where? Pakke Tiger Reserve. This was the question that UPSC asked in 2019. Pakke Tiger Reserve falls in which state? Arunachal Pradesh. It is there in Arunachal Pradesh. It consists of 97% of forest cover. It consists of 97% of forest cover. Fine. Yes, in Tiger Reserve, in that Pakke Tiger Reserve, we have 97% of forest cover. Next point. Following states have witnessed loss of forest cover. Following states have witnessed loss of forest cover. Loss of forest cover. First, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Nagaland. Fine. So these states have witnessed loss of forest cover. Why? Because of the developmental activities, because of the landslides, and also because of shifting cultivation, jhumming, shifting cultivation. Fine. So these are certain important points related to India State of Forest Report. One more point. You can give next point. Carbon stock present in Indian forest. What is carbon stock? Carbon stock means we have discussed. You must be aware of carbon sequestration. So trees, they need carbon dioxide for their activity of photosynthesis. So that carbon is stored for long term. And this removal of carbon dioxide from atmosphere and its long term storage is known as carbon sequestration. Fine. So in forest, carbon sequestration occurs. So how much carbon they are storing, that is what is called as carbon stock. Right. So under that, the amount of carbon sequestered and stored in forest ecosystem has increased by 79.4 million tons. Increased by 79.4 million tons to 7,204 million tons. 7,204 million tons. This is the total amount of carbon stock in Indian forest, and increase was by right. So carbon stock increased by this much amount, and total carbon stock that we have is this much. Fine. So carbon stock, that means carbon storage, is increasing in Indian forest. Now, can you please tell me the UN project or UN initiative for ensuring that forest ecosystem is protected, especially in developing countries? Which initiative is there? It is UNREDD. What is that? United Nations Reduction of Emission through Deforestation and Forest Degradation. Right. So this is an initiative started by FAO, UNEP, and UNDP. Right. So this is the initiative for reducing destruction of forests, reducing deforestation in developing countries. Right. And one more initiative is there that you should be aware of, is REDD, plus. REDD plus. Reduction in emissions from deforestation and forest degradation plus. That means, see, in what is the difference between REDD, UN REDD and REDD plus? Here we are trying to ensure that there is reduction in the emissions, right? Reduction in the emissions from forest. But we are not talking about sustainable forest management. That is what is the scope of UN REDD plus. UN REDD plus talks about sustainable forest management. And for sustainable forest management, under REDD plus, incentives are also provided. Incentives are also provided to developing countries. Why developing countries? Because most of the forest now is there in developing countries only. Fine, so you should be aware of these two, UN REDD and REDD plus. So REDD plus was the result of 2013 COP of UNFCCC held at Warsaw, Poland, right? So it was the result of COP in 2013. It was COP 18 in 2013 at Warsaw. Fine. So these two are important initiatives, right? Next now. So again, for conservation of forest, as a part of this particular topic, we can even talk about certain initiatives. Can you name those initiatives for the conservation of forest taken in India? Initiatives for conservation of forest. First is Green India Mission. Green India Mission. Green India Mission, part of. Green India Mission is a part of NAPCC, National Action Plan on Climate Change, which not only talks about afforestation but also talks about improving quality of forest, right? Second, CAMPA, compensatory afforestation, mandated by which act? Mandated by FCA 1980, Forest Conservation Act 1980, and the funds that are getting accumulated under the provisions of FCA, those funds should be utilized, and for that CAMPA Act 2016 is there. Fine. Any other initiative for the conservation of forest in India? One more is there, you may write, National Afforestation Program. National Afforestation Program. National Afforestation Program. Undertaken by MOEF and CC. Undertaken by MOEF and CC. Fine. So these are important initiatives for the conservation of forest in India. And along with that, these are global actions, REDD plus and UN REDD. Fine. Next topic. Next topic is 4th Asia Ministerial Conference on Tiger Conservation. Tiger conservation. Next, tiger conservation. So what does this article says? So this article is about the initiatives taken by government of Malaysia. So that initiative is not very important from the exams perspective, but Global Tiger Forum is important for us. Global Tiger Forum. So what is Global Tiger Forum? Global Tiger Forum. Global Tiger Forum, you may write, Global Tiger Forum is an organization. Global Tiger Forum is an organization of tiger range countries. Of tiger range countries. Tiger range countries. Headquartered at New Delhi. So GTF, we are talking about Global Tiger Forum. So it is headquartered at New Delhi. It is intergovernmental body. Fine. So that is Global Tiger Forum. One more you may write, Global Tiger Initiative, GTI. Global Tiger Initiative. Global Tiger Initiative. Established in 2008. Established in 2008. So a correction hai please. GTF is not initiative of tiger range countries. So वो point strike कर दीजिए वहाँ का. Please जो पहले GTF में आपने point लिखा है that it is an initiative of tiger range countries. Please strike it down. Instead of that, write Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, India, Myanmar, Nepal, and Vietnam. I repeat, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, India, Myanmar, Nepal, and Vietnam. These are the parties to Global Tiger Forum. Fine. Now coming back to our discussion of GTI, Global Tiger Initiative. So this was established in 2008 and its members are tiger range countries. Its members are tiger range countries. So how many tiger range countries are there? 13 tiger range countries are there. 13, 1-3. 13 tiger range countries. Fine. Next point for GTI. It is an initiative by the World Bank, GEF, what is GEF? Global Environment Facility. GEF. So GEF provides funds to which conventions? Which conventions are funded by GEF? UNFCCC, UNCBD, UNCCD, fine. Stockholm Convention, Minamata, and one more, UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on Laws of Sea. So these conventions are funded by GEF, Global Environment Facility. Global Environment Facility was established in 1991, but it was under World Bank during 1991. It was made a separate institute in 1992 during Rio Conference. Fine. Next. So it is an initiative by World Bank, GEF, International Tiger Coalition, which is a coalition of more than 40 non-government organizations. International Tiger Coalition, and Save the Tiger Fund. Fine. So GTF and GTI are important. GTF is a coalition of these more than 40 NGOs, World Bank and GEF. Fine. Next now. So this article also talks about the tiger census in India. 4th tiger census was carried out in 2018, and as per 4th tiger census, how many tigers are there in India? It is 2967. Highest number of tigers are there in Madhya Pradesh, followed by Karnataka. 526, 524. So slight difference is there. First is Madhya Pradesh.
In this booklet it's given Global Tiger Initiative is a global alliance of government
Where?
Sir, in this
No, which organization you are talking about?
Global Tiger Initiative.
Global Tiger Initiative. So Global Tiger Initiative is an initiative of?
So it's given like civil societies, conservation and scientific communities and private sector.
See, fine, but these four are the important organizations. See, when we talk about NGOs, we are taking into account the civil society. Private sector as well. Fine. See, I have given you the list of important organizations. Right? If question is there may be a question on which of the following are the participants in GTI, right, or GTF, whatever is the initiative. Fine. So yes, they are there, but more important are these. Fine. Next now, one more TX2 awards. One more important topic is TX2 awards. TX2 awards. TX2. And why it is important? Why it is important? Because TX2 awards are the awards given for those tiger reserves which have doubled the number of tigers in them. And in 2022, in India, one tiger reserve has received this award. It is Sathyamangalam. Sathyamangalam Tiger Reserve. Sathyamangalam Tiger Reserve has received TX2 award. Fine, for doubling the number of tigers. For doubling the number of tigers. Right, so this is also an important topic. Next is Project Tiger. So there is no need to discuss Project Tiger. Project Tiger, you must be aware, Project Tiger was initiated in 1973. In 1973, it is a centrally sponsored scheme under which ministry? Under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Excuse me. Right, under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, there is a centrally sponsored scheme, Project Tiger, 1973. What is the objective? What is the objective? To maintain viable population of tigers for their cultural, scientific, aesthetic, economic and ecological benefits. And second objective is to maintain the tiger reserves, right? For the protection of tiger reserves, second objective talks about protection of tiger reserves. Fine, so no need to talk about Project Tiger in detail, you must be aware of it. Next now. One more declaration, one important declaration is Pittsburgh Declaration. Not new. Again, Pittsburgh Declaration is not new. It was the result of 2010. It was the result of 2010 conference held of tiger range countries. What is the aim of Pittsburgh Declaration? Can you please tell me? Its aim is to double the number of tigers by 2022, and that's why it is important. Pittsburgh Declaration says that by 2022, number of tigers should be doubled. Pittsburgh Declaration. Where is Pittsburgh? It's there in Russia. Right, so in 2010, Pittsburgh Declaration set the target that number of tigers will be doubled by 2022. And in order to achieve this goal, there is one implementation mechanism called as Global Tiger Recovery Program. Right? The implementation program is Global Tiger Recovery Program. Global Tiger Recovery Program is the implementation program for Pittsburgh Declaration 2010. Fine. So when this Pittsburgh Declaration came into being, the number of tigers were around 3,200, and it set the goal that we will make it 7,000. We'll make it 7,000. Fine, and that's why for the achievement of Pittsburgh Declaration, role of India is very important, right? Because in India we have highest number of tigers, right? And as per 2018 census, number of tigers is 2967. So if we want to achieve the goal of Pittsburgh Declaration role of India is important. Fine. And who implements Project Tiger in India? Project Tiger in India is implemented by NTCA. Is it a statutory organization? Yes, it is. It is a statutory organization under Wildlife Protection Act 1972, amended in 2006. It was established, NTCA was established in 2005, and it was given a statutory status in 2006. Fine. So that much information is sufficient. Next now, reintroduction of cheetahs. Break nahi hai. Break nahi hai. See, it's going live on YouTube. आज break नहीं दे पाऊंगा. Yes. And that's why I keep quiet. Next, Project Cheetah. Project Cheetah. So you must be aware of this, right? So बहुत इस पे बात हो चुकी है. It is reintroduction of cheetahs in India, and they have been introduced in Kunopalpur in Madhya Pradesh. Right, and from where we are bringing these cheetahs? These are not Asiatic cheetahs, these are African cheetahs brought from Namibia and now South Africa as well. Fine. Next, when cheetahs went extinct, why we need reintroduction? Because cheetahs went extinct from India in 1952. They were declared extinct in 1952. Fine. So what is the IUCN status of Asiatic cheetah? It is critically endangered. And what is the IUCN status of African cheetahs that we are introducing? It is vulnerable. Fine. Next. Benefits. Now this point you can write. Benefits of Project Cheetah. Benefits of Project Cheetah. First benefit is they can help restore. First benefit of Project Cheetah, they can help restore open forest and grasslands ecosystem in India. They can help restore open forests and grasslands ecosystem in India. Next, it can help in biodiversity conservation. It can help in biodiversity conservation. Next, it can enhance ecosystem services. Right? It can enhance ecosystem services because from ecosystem we receive various goods and services. Those goods and services can be enhanced as cheetahs will be there in that particular habitat. Enhance ecosystem services like water security, carbon sequestration, and soil moisture conservation. One more, it will help in ecotourism, and thus livelihood opportunities will increase. Fine. So these are the benefits of Project Cheetah along with reintroduction of cheetahs in India. Now Kunopalpur, it is there in Shivpur district of Madhya Pradesh, and it was given a tag of wildlife sanctuary in 1981. Fine. And it is a part of, so this statement is important, it is a part of Katiyar Gir dry deciduous forest, right? It is a part of Katiyar Gir dry deciduous forest. This statement is important. Fine, because there may be a statement, it is a part of Katiyar Gir. As Gir is far away from Kunopalpur, we may negate that statement, but that is not the case. It is a part of Katiyar Gir deciduous forest. Fine. And Kuno river flows through this particular Kunopalpur National Park, and it is a tributary of Chambal. It is a tributary of Chambal. Fine. Next topic is deemed forest. Deemed forest. So what are deemed forest? Deemed forests are those lands which have characteristics similar to forest, but their ownership is not taken into account. Even if it is owned by private entity, if it has a characteristics of forest, it will be considered as deemed forest. Right? What are deemed forests? Irrespective of ownership, those areas which have the characteristics of forest, those areas are called as deemed forests. Fine. Irrespective of ownership, if a particular area looks like forest, it will be considered as deemed forest. Fine. So this was the issue of 2020, wherein Karnataka was trying to declassify deemed forest areas, right? So that has not happened as of now, but that was one of the steps that Karnataka was taking to declassify deemed forest. Why? Because if those forests are declassified, then that land will be available for development purposes, right? So that is deemed forest, not a very important issue. Next topic is not very important. Ancient forest found in sinkhole. There is some karst sinkhole in South China, and in that karst sinkhole they have found some ancient forest. Not very important topic, right? Just remember that there is a karst sinkhole in South China's Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region. In that they have found ancient forest. What is karst topography? Fine, it is a depositional feature. It is a depositional feature of groundwater. Next is Mishti scheme. So Mishti scheme is for the restoration of mangroves. Can you please tell me a few features of mangroves? Sorry? Fine. They have certain adaptations. Why do they need adaptations? Because they live in unfavorable conditions. They occur in brackish water conditions, which is neither fresh nor saline, right? And that's why they need adaptations, and those adaptations are like, first is nematophores. What are nematophores? Roots? Fine. They are vertical roots. And they help mangroves to overcome anaerobic conditions. Right? In anaerobic conditions, due to nematophores, these plant species, mangrove species, can carry out respiration activity. Right? So that is nematophores. Next adaptation. Fine. Viviparity mode of reproduction. Right? Where germination of seed occurs inside the plant, and after germination that seed is transplanted into the external environment. Anything else? Stilt roots in order to have a good support. Stilt roots. And one more. Salt secreting glands. They have salt secreting glands in their leaves. In their leaves they have salt secreting glands because they are developing in brackish water conditions. Fine. Can you name few species? red mangroves, fine. But few specific species. Acacia is not. Agar, fine. Agar is one. But rhizophora. Rhizophora and Avicenna. Right, so Rhizophora, Avicenna, and then red mangrove, blue mangrove you can write. Fine, so for the conservation of mangroves, an initiative is started called as MISHTI. MISHTI. What is MISHTI initiative? MISHTI is Mangrove Initiative for Shoreline Habitat and Tangible Incomes. Fine, so this was the outcome of budget 2023-24, right? It was the outcome of budget 23-24. So in India, which state has highest area under mangroves? It is West Bengal, right? So out of total mangroves in India, almost 42% of mangroves are there in West Bengal, followed by Gujarat, then Andaman and Nicobar, then Andhra Pradesh, and then Maharashtra, right? But as per India State of Forest Report 2021, mangrove cover has increased in India, right? We have discussed it. 3 states have shown highest increase. First is Odisha, second is Maharashtra, and third is Karnataka. In these 3 states, highest increase of mangrove has witnessed during the period of 2019 to 2021. Fine. Next is one more very important point for MISHTI scheme. So MISHTI scheme will be implemented through MG Narega and Campa. Right, so this is an important point. It will be implemented through the convergence between MG Narega and Campa funds and other sources. Fine. Next now. Next is Panamaram heronry. So it is a breeding ground for herons. What are herons? Herons are bird species. And Panorama Ram heronry is there in the state of Kerala. It is in the river named Kabini River, right? Where Kabini River is a tributary of Kaveri, right? Kabini is a tributary of Kaveri. Fine, so that much you can remember. Birds called as herons, their breeding ground is in Panamaram heronry in the state of Kerala. In which river? Kabini River, which is a tributary of Kaveri. Next is boreal forest. Where do we have boreal forest? Which forests are called as boreal forests? Taiga, right? Taiga forest, they are also called as coniferous. Where do we have these forests? If we talk about latitudinally, we have these forests between 60 to 70 degree north latitude. 60 to 70 degree north latitude. And if we talk about countries, apart from Canada, Finland, Norway, Russia, Sweden, USA, they are also there in Japan and China also, right? Boreal forests are also there in Japan and China. Fine, so they are getting threatened. Why they are getting threatened? Because of the forest fires. Which type of forest fire is witnessed in these forests? It is crown forest. That means only the canopy of forest is getting influenced by forest fire. And these crown fires, they spread like anything. Why? Because of the wind that takes it along with itself. Right? So crown forest spreads faster than forests that are witnessed on the ground. Fine. So because of crown forest, boreal forests are getting threatened. Fine. So that is about the biodiversity initiatives mentioned here. Next is topic of species, right? So species, it is very factual. So we'll talk about it. First is ice fish. First is ice fish. And that's why I say that you should have these PDF, right? You should have this PDF. So ice fish, where we have ice fish, it is there in Southern Ocean around Antarctica. And it is the only known vertebrate to lack hemoglobin in their blood. They do not have hemoglobin in their blood. And why they do not have hemoglobin? Because they do not have RBCs. They do not have RBCs in their blood, and that's why they do not have hemoglobin to transport oxygen. Fine. So how do they absorb oxygen then? If they do not have oxygen, how do they absorb oxygen? From skin, right? On the basis of absorption of oxygen from skin, they are able to meet their oxygen demands. Fine. So that much information is sufficient for ice fish found in Southern Ocean around Antarctica. They lack hemoglobin. Why they lack hemoglobin? Because they lack RBCs, right? And how do they meet their oxygen demand? From skin. Next now, clouded leopard. Clouded leopard is an important topic. So, clouded leopard, do we have clouded leopards in India? Where? In Northeast. It is a state animal of Meghalaya. It is a state animal of Meghalaya. Clouded leopards are a state animal of Meghalaya. Fine. And what is their IUCN status? Their IUCN status is vulnerable. There are two subspecies of clouded leopards. First is Neophilus nebulosi, which is there in India, and Neophilus diardi, which is there in Sumatra and other Southeast Asian countries. Fine. So it is vulnerable in IUCN's red list. In India, it is primarily found in northeastern region and West Bengal also. And its important protected area is Dampa Tiger Reserve, where it is in Mizoram. And they have included, in 2018, clouded leopard was included under recovery program for critically endangered species. Right? Clouded leopard now is a part of recovery program for critically endangered species. You may write other species under this particular program. Other species under recovery program for critically endangered species. Recovery program for critically endangered species. See, though name says that critically endangered, it is not for critically endangered species only. Fine, though the name of recovery program is recovery program for critically endangered species, it is not only for critically endangered, right? So under that, snow leopards, Hangul is also called as Kashmir stag. Next, Malabar civet. Next, dugong. Asiatic lions. Next, swamp deer. Swamp deer are also called as Barasinga. Next, so one more. Asian wild buffalo. Asian wild buffalo are also found in Manas. They are also found in Manas. Fine. So under recovery program for critically endangered species, what is done? What is done under recovery program for critically endangered species? CWW, Chief Wildlife Warden of State, comes up with special programs for the conservation of these species. Right? There is no specific action taken. Actions are decided by CWW, Chief Wildlife Warden. Chief Wildlife Warden. Who is Chief Wildlife Warden? Administrative head of all protected areas in that particular state. Is it a statutory office? Yes, it is. Chief Wildlife Warden is a statutory office. Under which act? Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Fine. Next. Next topic now. Oriental darter. Oriental darter. So, it is found in Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary, which is nothing but Kevla Devghana National Park. Kevla Devghana National Park. And it is near threatened. Its IUCN status is near threatened. Fine. And it is, this Indian darter is a water bird. It is a water bird and it hunts fishes. So that much information is sufficient for Oriental darter. See, underline these things. Only read, once you revise, only read these things only. You don't need to revise anything else. Fine. So, near threatened, they hunt fishes as they are water birds. Kevla Devghana National Park, where it is? In the state of Rajasthan. It is UNESCO's World Heritage Site. Also, it is a Ramsar site. Also, it is a Ramsar site under Montreux record. It is also a part of Montreux record. What is Montreux record? Fine. Ramsar record is a record of those Ramsar sites where ecological characteristic of that wetland is changing, has changed or will change because of human actions like pollution and use of technology. Fine. So that is what is Montreux record, and two Indian Ramsar sites are there under Montreux record. First is Kevla Devghana National Park. Second is Loktak Lake. Where? Manipur. Fine. Next now. In this box below Kevla Devghana National Park, they have also given about the dedicated wildlife park for clouded leopard. So dedicated wildlife park for clouded leopard is there in Tripura. It is named as Sipahi Jola Wildlife Sanctuary. Sipahi Jola Wildlife Sanctuary in Tripura is a dedicated wildlife park for clouded leopards. Next now, next species. So next species is a plant species. So they have found two new plant species in the state, in the Western Ghats. Excuse me. Right, so they have found two new plant species in Western Ghats, and their IUCN status, first species is Fibris stylis sunili. Its IUCN status is data deficient. See, these kind of names are not important. These biological names are not important. Fine. So its IUCN status is data deficient under IUCN. Next now, next topic. This topic is not very important. Next topic. Next is again, there is a wasp-like species discovered from Western Ghats and from northeastern states. It is an insect which is like wasps. What are wasps? What are wasps? Wasps are those insects whose middle body part is smaller than their two ends. Right? Their middle body part is smaller than their two ends. These are those insects whose middle body part is smaller than their two ends. Right? So this insect was found in the northeastern states and Western Ghats. Next now, sloth bear. Next topic, sloth bear. This is important. Sloth bear. It is endemic to Indian subcontinent. It is endemic to Indian subcontinent. Apart from India, it is also found in Nepal and Sri Lanka. But 90% of the population is there in India only. Its IUCN status is vulnerable. It is a part of Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972, and also it is a part of Appendix 1 of CITES. Fine, so that is sloth bear. And World Sloth Bear Day is observed on October 12th. Fine, so that is sloth bear. Next, Denison barb. Denison barb. So it is a freshwater species which is native to the states of Karnataka and Kerala. Freshwater species native to the state of Karnataka and Kerala, and under Wildlife Protection Act it is a part of Schedule 1. So I hope you are aware of schedules under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Right? So how many schedules are there under Wildlife Protection Act 1972? As of now there are 6 schedules. As of now there are 6 schedules. So WPA 1972. As of now there are 6 schedules. 1 to 6. Right? Out of these 6 schedules, first 4 are related to, they are related to animals. They are related to animals, right? And the degree of protection is lesser, right? It goes on decreasing. That means most threatened will be there in Schedule 1, and in Schedule 4 there will be species which are not threatened with extinction. Schedule 5 consists of vermines. It is also a list of animals. Schedule 5 is also for animals, but first 4 schedule talks about protection. 5th schedule talks about vermines. What are vermines? Vermines are those animals which are considered as agricultural pest, and they are allowed to be killed. Right? They are allowed to be killed. And 6th schedule consists of plants. Which plants? Which plants? Plants whose cultivation is prohibited outside their natural habitat. Right? Plants whose cultivation is prohibited outside their natural habitat. Outside their natural habitat, they cannot be cultivated. Why they cannot be cultivated? Because there may be genetic dilution. If they are cultivated outside their habitat, there may be genetic dilution. Second, they may be used as psychotropic substances. Right? So because of these reasons, they are not cultivated. Their cultivation is not allowed outside their natural habitat. Examples: red vanda, blue vanda, orchids, right? Pitcher plants, they are not allowed outside their habitat. Black walnut. Why black walnut is not allowed? Because black walnut secretes certain chemicals. Naturally, as a part of its process, it secretes certain chemicals, and those chemicals are harmful to the plants plants coming in the vicinity. And that's why they are not allowed. Their cultivation is not allowed outside their natural habitat. Fine. So these things you should be aware of. Now what is happening? So these schedules are getting rationalized under WPA Amendment Bill 2021. WPA 2021 bill. So there will be 4 schedules only. 4 schedules only, right? First schedule is for those animals which will be having higher degree of protection. Higher degree of protection will be there. Here lower degree of protection, lower protection will be there. Those animals with lower protection needs will be there under Schedule 2. Schedule 3 consists of plants. Schedule 4 consists of, Schedule 4 is also called as scheduled specimens. scheduled specimens. And these scheduled specimens are nothing but those species which are the part of CITES appendices. Scheduled specimens. Fine, so this is an important aspect. If by the time you write exam, if it gets amended, you should be aware of this. Fine, if Wildlife Protection Act gets amended by the time you write exam, you should be aware of these 4 schedules. Fine. Next now. So they have given schedules here. Next is eastern. So what is the IUCN status of Denison barb? It is endangered. Next species is eastern swamp deer. Eastern swamp deer. Eastern swamp deer. So where do we have eastern swamp deer? In Kaziranga National Park. In Kaziranga National Park we have eastern swamp deer. So there are 3 types of swamp deers. 3 types of swamp deers: western, southern and eastern. Western are there in Nepal, southern are there in central India and North Indian region, and eastern is there in Assam and Uttar Pradesh. Assam and Uttar Pradesh. Fine, so western swamp deers are there in Nepal. Others are found in India. Fine, so these swamp deers, they are also called as Barasinga, and they are a state animal of Madhya Pradesh as well as Uttar Pradesh. Right, swamp deer or Barasinga is a state animal of Madhya Pradesh as well as Uttar Pradesh. Next, what is the IUCN status? They are vulnerable. They are a part of Appendix 1 of CITES, and also they are a part of Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Fine. Next is Kaziranga National Park. Where it is? It is there in the state of Assam, and it is there in 2 districts, Golaghat and Nagaon. Golaghat and Nagaon. And it is also a World Heritage Site, and as well as it is a tiger reserve. Right? It is a World Heritage Site declared by UNESCO, and also it is a tiger reserve. Along with that, it is also an important bird area, IBA, declared by BirdLife International along with its regional partners. Right? BirdLife International do not do it alone. It declares these important bird areas along with its regional partners. Which organization is regional partner? It is Bombay Natural History Society. For India, BirdLife International's local partner or regional partner is Bombay Natural History Society, BNHS, which is one of the important NGOs working in India, established in 19th century. It was established in 1880s. In 1880s it was established. Fine. So that is Kaziranga. Next is Laokhowa Burchapori Wildlife Sanctuary, and we have discussed about Laokhowa while discussing Indian rhino vision. Right? From Pobitora and Kaziranga, rhinos will be translocated in 5 different protected areas in Assam. One of them was Laokhowa. Right? So Laokhowa is located on the southern banks of Brahmaputra river, and this is a reserve forest which became wildlife sanctuary in 1995. Reserve forests are created under Indian Forest Act 1927. Next. So this Laokhowa is also a notified buffer of Kaziranga Tiger Reserve. It is also a notified buffer of Kaziranga Tiger Reserve. You must be aware, tiger reserves work on core buffer strategy. Right? They work on core buffer strategy. So buffer region of Kaziranga is a part of Laokhowa. Fine, core buffer strategy, you must be aware of this. Core regions are no-go zone, and along them we have buffer zone. In buffer zone, certain activities are allowed, like collection of minor forest produce is allowed, grazing is also allowed. Fine. Who decides the boundaries of buffer zone?
The state.
Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha along with expert committee decides the borders of buffer zone. Core zone borders are decided by state along with expert committee, right? Next, spot billed pelicans, right? So pelicans are large water birds with large beak and large throat pouch, right? They are large water birds with large beak and large throat pouch. So due to the infestation of nematodes, these spot-billed pelicans are getting threatened. There is increased mortality in the spot-billed pelicans due to infestation of nematodes. What are nematodes? Roundworms, right? Nematodes are roundworms and they are multicellular insects. So because of their infestation, these pelicans are getting threatened. Where in Telinilapuram IBA. Telinilapuram IBA, which is there in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Fine. And their IUCN status is, the spot-billed pelicans, their IUCN status is near threatened. Next now. One more, this Telinilapuram bird sanctuary, which is there in Andhra Pradesh, it is also a habitat of painted stork. Painted storks are also bird species. They are long-legged, long-necked bird species. Painted storks are long-necked and long-legged bird species. Fine, so that is about this spot-billed pelicans. Next is golden langurs. Golden langurs. So golden langurs, where do we have golden langurs in India? They are there in the state of Assam. And also, apart from India, they are there in Bhutan. Fine. And important protected areas are, or important locations are Manas River, then Sankosh River. Where is Sankosh River? It is also there in Assam, right? Manas is there in Assam, Sankosh is also in Assam, and Brahmaputra. Fine. So these are the important habitats for golden langurs apart from foothills in Bhutan, foothills of mountains in Bhutan. Fine. And they are also tree dwellers. They are also tree dwellers. They are herbivorous. They have herbivorous diet, right? They are not feeding on animals or insects. They are feeding only on plant-based food. IUCN status is endangered. Their IUCN status is endangered. What happened? क्या? अच्छा, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. Next, so IUCN status is endangered. They are a part of Appendix 1 of CITES and also Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act. Next now, next. Next is koalas. So koalas, where do we have presence of koalas and why they came into news? Right, so first they came in news because of bushfires. Bushfires of Australia lead to the habitat loss for koalas. Right, koalas are also tree dwellers. They prefer the habitat of eucalyptus trees. And as there is bushfire in Australia, their habitat is getting destructed and they are compelled to migrate in other areas. But when they are compelled to migrate in other areas, they are not able to find suitable habitat, and as a result of lack of suitable habitat, they are facing dangers with respect to their survival. Fine. So koalas are arboreal and they are marsupials. Marsupials, what is marsupials? Right, so they do not, the birth given to their babies is, means premature birth will be given, right, and those premature babies will be carried by their mother, right? It is not full grown baby which will be given birth. Babies prematured birth will be there, and those prematured babies will be carried by these animals. So kangaroos are also marsupials. Fine. So which habitat is preferred by them? Eucalyptus woodlands and forest. Where do we have them? They are there in the eastern Australia, from northeast Queensland to Eyre Peninsula. Not very important. They are there in Australia. Fine. Next is Indian gaur. So Indian gaur, they are also called as Indian bison, and they are a state animal of Goa and Bihar. Indian gaur is a state animal of Goa and Bihar. And why this article is there in this magazine? Because Indian gaur was seen in Pune, right? In the city of Pune it was seen, and that's why this article, right? So not very important. IUCN status, you can remember, it is vulnerable. Next is crimson rose butterfly. It is the butterfly that is found in Sri Lanka, and it has a migratory adaptabilities. Fine. So apart from Sri Lanka, it is also found in West Bengal, Andaman and Nicobar, and also in Bangladesh. Fine, not very important. Only remember that they are the species which have migratory adaptability from Sri Lanka to West Bengal, to Andaman and Nicobar, and also in Bangladesh. Next is one gecko, that means a lizard, was found in Meghalaya, right? And it is named after the military camp that is there in Meghalaya. Not very important. Next is a fish species found in India, and that was identified by one of the important organizations named Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, where we have this CMFRI. It is there in the state of Kerala, Kochi. It is headquartered at Kochi, right? Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, CMFRI, is headquartered at Kochi. Fine. Next is Neuroterus valhalla. So it is a wasp again. It is a wasp, and we have discussed wasp. What are wasps? Whose central body part is narrow compared to their ends. So again, that is not very important. Next is new genus of parasitic flowering plant. So they have found a new genus of parasitic flowering plant in the state of in the Union Territory region of Nicobar. Fine. And these are partially, right? So we have discussed two types of parasites. First is brood parasites. What are brood parasites? They lay their egg in the nest of others, right? They are brood parasites. And second is obligate parasites. What are obligate parasites? Right? They are completely dependent on their host. These parasites that have been found in Nicobar are not obligate. They can carry out, if you read the last statement, they partially depend on its host. They are not complete parasites. They are not obligate parasites. They are only partially dependent on their host. Fine. So again, not very important. Next is the most important topic, dugong conservation. Next is very important, dugong conservation. So it is the project undertaken by the state of Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu. So these dugongs, they are native to Indian littorals and they are cousins of mantes, right? They are cousins of mantes, which are sea cows in tropical Atlantic oceans, right? They are cousins of mantes, which are sea cows of tropical Atlantic ocean. So underline that point, that is important. But unlike mantes, which use fresh water, dugong are strictly marine animals. Dugongs are strictly marine animals. They are found only in oceanic water bodies. Fine. And you must be aware they are commonly known as sea cows. And these dugongs, which are found in the Gulf of Mannar region, are not only found in Indian oceans, they are also found in Pacific oceans. Right? They are there in Indian as well as Pacific Ocean. Fine. They are Schedule 1 animal, primarily found in Andaman and Nicobar along with Gulf of Mannar, but sporadic population can also be seen in Gulf of Kutch along with Konkan coast. Fine. So that is about That is about dugong conservation. So today we'll stop here. Fine. So see, make sure that you get a print of this, right? Because if you get a print of it, print of this PDF, it will help you. Because when we discuss in the classroom, you'll be able to underline important, or you'll be able to highlight important topics. You'll be able to write extra information that is being discussed, and on that basis, you can revise this PDF later, right? So make sure you get a print of it. Fine. Any doubt? Any doubt? See again, if you go through the print, you'll find that there are more than 70 species. All species are difficult to cover, right? You'll have to understand this. So what we will do tomorrow, we'll discuss important species, and thereafter we'll move to our next topics. Fine. Because each and every species, you also know that these geckos, insects are not very important from the exam's perspective. Fine. So we will discuss important species, and then we'll move to our next topics, which are more important, like initiatives for the mitigation of climate change, right? Initiatives taken by various international organizations for the mitigation of climate change, for the conservation of biodiversity. Those things we'll discuss in our next class. Any doubt? Yes, it is given by BirdLife International along with its regional partner. Right? It is given by it is given by BirdLife International only. And you must be aware, BirdLife International is international organization partner of Ramsar Convention. It is international organization partner of Ramsar Convention. Fine? Any other doubt? Any other doubt? See, degree of protection is same, but the punishment given to the crimes against Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 animals are different. Right? So that is the difference between Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. Right? Crime committed against Schedule 1 animals will attract more harsh punishment than Schedule 2 animals. Right? And you must be aware of NGT, National Green Tribunal. National Green Tribunal do not have jurisdiction on Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Why? Because crimes committed under Wildlife Protection Act 1972 are not civilian offense, they are criminal offense. Right? And that's why there are different degrees of protection for scheduled animals. Fine? Any other? Any other? Any other doubt? Shall we stop? Fine. Thank you. See you tomorrow.